And welcome to Clash of Cultures Monument Edition solo play. I'm going to be the Babylonians and I'm going to be playing the blue player. Ibo is going to be the red player over there, and you can see his starting setup is exactly like ours, except for the fact that he has an additional food marker in his city. That's simply a marker to say that is the food city. That comes in importance when we start using the city track, which is right there. And you'll see how that works a little bit later as we play. I have his board set up. He does start with the farming and mining as usual. I put a settlement on 0, 3, 5, and 7 with the indicated markers following the city track with them. That's all in the setup. He is playing Egypt. So he's gotten randomly picked Egypt here, and then I gave him the cover. So you get the Egypt cover, and you put it over the Civilization Advancement board. And then you take any board, so this is the Aztecs, for example, and you put the you flip it over, and you put the Egypt leader board over it. And this cube goes on the bottom, indicating that right now there is no leader in the game. When he does get a leader, we'll randomly roll to see which one of these three leaders come in the game. He does have his starting action card. He doesn't receive objective cards. We always begin the game as first player, so we are going to start. Now my turns will be off camera because this is mostly about showing how the Ibo works, so I will always just give you a summary of what I did. The summary of my turn was simply advance, collect, advance. I advanced in irrigation, collected 2 food. I then used those 2 food to advance in sanitation, giving me the 2 mood tokens. It is now Ibo's turn to go, and in the first age we draw a single event card. We flip it over and we only care about that top icon. In this case it is Exhausted Lands. Looking at our cheat sheet over here, you can see if it's Exhausted Lands, then we do an influence culture action. However, being the first turn of the game, he's got no contact with me, so we cannot do an influence culture action. So we then go around the cycle. He's instead going to advance. When Ibo advances, he rolls 3 dice, and we're going to roll them so that way one definitely lands on top, one definitely lands in the middle, and one definitely lands below. And these 3 dice will determine what he learns. So the top dice you read as a D3, and so 6 is actually a 3 in this case. Now what that tells us is that he wants to learn something in the 3rd triple set of advancements. So these first 3 are 1, these next 3 are the 2nd, and these on the bottom, this is the 3rd set of advancements. So he wants to learn something in these 3 sets. That second die tells us also read as a D3, so that means that 2 is actually a 1, which means he wants to learn the first one in this set of 3. So he's going to actually learn an economy advancement. Now the bottom die is not needed in this case because economy only has 1 to learn, and that is bartering, the top one. The top one always has to go first. Now he doesn't gain mood tokens when he gains those advancements. He does earn culture tokens when he learns culture-based advancements. However, the other thing that Ibo does is he gains the building related to that advancement. So because economy opens up market, we're now going to put market onto his scale right there, the next available space in the row. And that is Ibo's entire turn, since he only gets 1 action in age 1. On my round 2 of age 1, I decided to collect 2 food from that city, who was happy when I did it. Once I had 2 food, I then decided to recruit 2 settlers. I did that by spending the 2 food I earned and then one of the mood tokens because I have sanitation. Now because that was the second time I activated that city, it did lose its happiness. It's now neutral. And then my third action was to move, and I spread out my settlers in all 3 sectors to explore. With Ibo's turn, we draw 1 event card, looking only at the top again, and it's Barbarian Move. So on Barbarian Move actions, on Barbarian Move cards, you'll notice that we advance. Well, we advanced last time, so you know how this works. I'm going to roll the 3 dice. Looks like he wants to learn from the second set of 3. So he's going to learn Education, Warfare, or Spirituality. The 5 tells us he wants to learn the third one in that set, so he's going to be learning Spirituality. The last die is irrelevant because he only has 1 to learn, and that is Myths. Again, he does not earn any mood tokens, but he will earn a temple that we're going to now place on his scale right there. My round 3 was very straightforward. I did my first action to move the settlers, so I moved 1 forward, 1 sort of sideways there, and then 1 downwards. And then I used my other 2 actions to found 2 cities. With Ibo's round 3, we're going to draw an event card, take a look at the icon, and it appears to be the pirate symbol. So when we look at our sheet here, the pirate symbol means he's going to attack. Now, of course, he still does not have communication or even contact with us yet, so he cannot attack, and so we move to the next one down this list. So instead, he's going to construct. When Ibo constructs, he looks at his board, and he's going to try to build the leftmost city piece on the board, and so that means he's going to build a settlement. So we're going to found a city. When we found a city with unexplored sectors near his towns or cities, we are going to randomly choose which sector he explores and settles in. So now, since all 3 of these are adjacent to his, we're going to simply roll a die, and we'll just do reading rules, top to bottom, left to right. So we're going to say that's sector 1, 2, 3. The die, red as a D3, is a 1, and so he's going to settle in this top one. So I'm going to flip this over, and whichever way it lands, as long as the water, as per rules say, as long as water is to the outside, it is properly placed, and so we are okay right there. Now, once that is all placed, he now tries to settle first on any plains. Ideally, he's going to go in this order. He's going to find a plains. If he can't find plains, he'll find forest. If he can't find forest, he'll find mountains. In this case, there are no plains, but there are 2 forests available. And so we'll roll to see which ones he prefers. Again, we'll go 1 and 2. Red is a D2. That's a 2, so he's going to take the bottom one, and that's where he ends up settling, along with the wood token, just to remind us that this is the wood city, or the second one that he's built in the game. After any construct action, we move every piece down the scale 1 step. We now enter the status phase of age 1. Status phase, we start first with complete objectives. I haven't completed any. Now, Ibo takes a look at his advancement board, Civ advancement board, because sometimes there's an advancement here that requires you to take an action during the complete objective phase. He does have floodplains that he has an action, but he hasn't learned it yet, and so there's no actions yet to take with Ibo. The next action is to receive a free advancement. I took mine in mythology, earning a second mood token, but that also triggered an event, and I happened to got earthquake, and because I did have 3 cities on the board, one of them has been destroyed by an earthquake, and so I'm down to 2 cities now on the board. When he does receive a free advancement, he simply does exactly that. He's going to advance again. So we're going to roll the 3 dice. That top die again determines that he's going to learn from the 3rd section of advancements. That second die means he learns from the first one of the 3, so he's going to learn an economy. And this is the first time we're going to use that 3rd die, because now he's got 3 options inside that category. So that 4 is now read as a D3, so that's a 2, so he's going to learn trade routes. And so we put that there. Now every time he learns an advancement, we take that city piece corresponding to that category and place it on the scale in the next available spot. Now, because that was his 3rd advancement, his event tracker is going to trigger an event. So we draw. Now, this one is not another action for him, but an actual event which will actually trigger like an event card. So, gain 2 gold. When he gains 2 gold, he instead gains 1 culture token, which I will now give to him. And then you read below. Now, anything that, none of this text ever affects him. However, anything that affects you, you get to do. In this case, you must, meaning he, must lose an action this turn, but it doesn't affect him, and transfer all advancements from one to another, and it doesn't affect him. And nothing affected us, so this event is over. After we had free advancement, we now draw cards. Now I've taken my 2 cards. Now when I give cards to Ibo, I still like to draw both objectives and actions. Now the action cards are the only ones he keeps and actually uses in the game. However, I like to take the objective card and then put it face down on the pile of cards that he's performed so far. This gives me a nice timeline. If I ever have to walk away from the table, I can always come back to the deck and say, okay, he's done 1, 2, 3 actions. This is the end of age 1. And then it's a nice, easy reference to see what age or what turn I'm on if I have to walk away from the table. After we draw cards, we now raise a size 1 city. Now, I don't want to raise any of mine, but Ibo's action on this is to simply raise all his cities up 1 mood. And so his new city is now happy. The change of government action we can't do because we have no government. But what he does is look at the traditions advancements. For every 2 cubes in this category, he gains a culture token. In this case, he doesn't gain any. The final part is to determine the first player. We look at my total tokens. I have 2 mood tokens. We go over to Ibo. He only has 1 culture token. He never collects mood, so we only ever count culture. And being that I have more tokens, I get the choice of first player, and I will remain the first player going into age 2. For my 3 actions of round 1 of age 2, I settled or founded a city with the settler that was down here. I now am back to 3 cities. I then increased the mood of both of these cities with another action. And then my 3rd action was to collect 2 food from my capital city there, leaving me now with 2 food. Since we're in age 2, Ibo still only activates 1 single card per turn, so he's going to flip this over, and it's not going to have any icon on it. According to our sheet, when there is no icon on a card, we are going to construct. The first city piece on the scale is a market, and the city with our settler does not have a market, and so that's exactly what is built. So he puts the market in that city right there. Then after any build, the settler is then placed in the smallest city in city track order. So this is obviously the smallest city up there, but if there were more than 1 choice, we would go in this order here. Food before the wood, before the ore, before the gold, before the idea. After any construct action, all city pieces get shifted 1 space on the board. Now every city piece they build does do something. Now markets don't do anything immediately, but every time Ibo recruits, he now will be able to build cavalries and elephants. On my 3 actions of round 2, I started with an advance and I took engineering. Engineering causes me to draw a wonder card, but when you play Ibo, you actually don't draw wonder cards. We're playing the Open Wonders variant, where you put them on display, because now Ibo has the ability to build these as well. Because I've learned engineering and I'm Babylonia, I've learned canals. Now when I collect, I get 1 extra food as long as I collect only 1 food, which is exactly what I did with my next 2 actions. I collected an ore and a food from here, giving me an extra food, and then I collected an ore and a wood from the city up there. Because it's still age 2, he performs 1 event card for his 1 action. It is a blank again, and so we already know blank means he's going to construct. Looking at the scale, the first thing here is a temple. Looking at where the settler is, that would mean there is no temple there, so we can build right there. Now we move the settler to the smallest city. They're both the same size, so we go in city track order, which means food comes before wood. So that's his next place to build. Now, market didn't come with an immediate bonus, but temples allows him to take a culture token immediately. After that, we shift everything on the scale 1 position. For my round 3 of age 2, my first step was actually to use 2 food to advance in storage. This now gave me another mood token. I then collected a wood and food from my capital city, and because I only collected 1 food because of canals, I now get an extra food, so I had 2 of everything, which then I used 1 of each to build a temple in my northern city there, and after that, that left me with 2 mood tokens, as I chose mood tokens when I built it. His final action of age 2, again, being age 2, he only gets 1 action, so we flip it over. It is the gold piece. Now, the gold piece is civilization specific, and so if we go over to his advancement board, you'll notice that the bottom here has what happens for him, for Egypt, if they get gold, and for them, they're going to construct. So every civilization has a different one there, and so some of them focus on attack or construct or advance or whatnot. So, being Egypt, he's going to construct. Now, there's a settlement in our first position, which means he's going to try to found a city. Looking at the 3 sectors that are unexplored next to his cities, that means this is available, that's available, or this is available. So which one he chooses is up to the die roll. 1, 2, 3. That is a 2, so he is going to explore and settle in the second one. So placement rules is simply as long as waters are connected, we're good to go. And following placement rules now is that he always tries to settle the plains over the forests, over the mountains. And so this settlement's going to be placed right there, and it's going to be labeled with the or marker. As with any construct action, all figures are moved 1 space on the scale. We are now in the status phase of age 2, starting with the completed objectives. I have not completed any, and Ibo has not yet learned irrigation to have that ability trigger, so nothing happens during complete objectives. For receive a free advancement, myself I took writing, which gave me this culture token, and also now code of laws on the Babylonia civilization advancement. That did empty my event queue out, so that means I triggered an event. It was a severe famine. Now, the first thing that happens is Barbarian Move, but there are no barbarians on the board, and so we had to do a Barbarian Spawn, and you can now see there are barbarians right here. Again, I got to place anywhere within 2 of my cities, but not within 2 of his, and so this position seemed the best for me. Ibo will now take his free advancement. The 1, of course, means that we're looking at the first 3 advancement categories. The 3 means we're going to take the second one of the 3, so he's going to learn a construction. And because there's 3 available, we read this last die as a D3, so that's a 2. And so he's going to learn the second one, and that is Sanitation. Now, he does not gain mood tokens. And because this category does not have a building associated with it, he now attempts to build a wonder. So we do a wonder check every time we learn something in construction, agriculture, or any of the governments. Now, a wonder check is very simple. It's 4 steps. First, does he have 5 culture tokens? The answer is no. Does he have 4 non-settlement city pieces on his scale? The answer is no. 3 is, does he have at least 3 advancements in agriculture or construction? Again, the answer is no. And the last one is, any of the wonders appearing out there right now, does he have the category opened for rituals? That one would be a yes. He does actually have spirituality unlocked, so he would, if he said yes to the other 3 checkpoints, he would build the Great Pyramids. But with the fact that 3 of them are no's, he doesn't build a wonder. The next thing is he gets his cards for this status phase. We're going to put the action card where it belongs, on top of the action pile. And the objective card he doesn't get, but we're going to use it again as a little timeline. You can see as I spread out the cards, you can see exactly that was age 1, this is age 2, and it's a nice visual lead on what's happened in the game. With raise a size 1 city, I don't want to, and Ibode simply makes all his cities go up 1 mood, and so his new city is now happy. I don't have a government to change, And Ibo still has not researched anything in traditions, and so he gains no culture token. Determining the first player, I've got 3 tokens. He's got 2. I get to choose, and I will remain the first player as we enter Age 3. So for my 3 actions of Age 3 Round 1, I started with making this bottom southern city happy. It only cost 1 Mu token because at the time it was size 1. My second action was to collect resources from this northern city. I get 3 choices because size 2 plus happy. I took ore, wood, and food, and because of canals I got 2 food instead. I then used that resources to then increase the size of this bottom city by building an academy. Because we have entered Age 3, he now is going to perform 2 actions every time he goes. So Ibo is going to reveal the first card, and it is Barbarian Move. So because of that, we know he's going to advance. Taking the 3 dice, making sure they land top, medium, and middle and bottom here. Looks like we got second set, second one of the set, and we don't need the third one because second set, second one of the set means he's learning his first warfare. And so he is going to get a culture token because of the fact that it is blue bordered. And he also receives a fortress that he will then put into the next open slot. Having resolved the first one, let's take a look at the second one. It is, Barbarian Spawn. Now that is the first time we've seen that. So if we look at the flow chart, we see that the Barbarian Spawn icon means he's going to recruit. Now when Ibo recruits, he does so in reversed city track order, which means he's actually going to start with his newest city, the ore, then recruit in wood, then recruit in food. The amount of units each city can hold is their city size mood altered. So 2 in the ore, 3 in the wood, and 3 in the food. Each recruit action brings 1 unit. Now the first unit, if a city has 0 units in it, then the first unit is always infantry. And since this is the first time he's recruited, we're going to put 3 infantries, 1 in each city. A summary of my round 2 is quite simple. I took the first action to construct an academy into my capital city. That brought me up to 4 ideas. I then collected from this southern city an ore, a wood, and a food, and because I only got 1 food, I get a second from canals. I then used those 2 food and the idea synergy to spend those 2 food, learn public education, and gain 2 more ideas. Because I did that, I'm now at 6 ideas. I do now have enough to get this ideas objective done. For Ibo's round 2, we take a look at both his events. Let's take a look at action 1. It is, blank, which means he constructs. Looking at the city chart, he's going to build a market. Now, looking at the position of the settler, that place already has a market. So we can't build a market in that location since it already has one. So we move to the next one in the scale, and it's actually a settlement. So that means now that is what we're going to build. So now that we're founding a city instead, all 3 of these unexplored sectors are adjacent to his cities, so he'll go into one of those 3. Let's roll a dice, and in reading order, we'll say 1, 2, 3. So D3, this is the 3. He's going to flip the sector closest to him. And following rules, he always goes in terrain of city track order, which means he prefers to settle in the plains. And so that is where he puts his gold city. As per usual rules, everything shifts down 1 city spot. At the end of the construct, this settler would now move to the smallest city, and there's 2, ore and gold. But ore is ahead of gold in city track order, and so the settler is now located there. Taking a look at now action 2 for round 2 for Ibo, it's another blank. So another blank event card means he constructs. So now we go back to it, and now this market can go in the city we just put the new settler. And so now this city has a market. The settler will now move to the gold city since it is the smallest of his cities. And all the pieces move down one more down on the scale. My 3 actions for round 3 were all basically in front of me on my board. I did use 2 ideas to learn mathematics in the science category, earning myself my second culture token. I then, from the board, collected twice, both from my academy cities, and I collected the same thing, ore, wood, and food from both, and because it's 1 food, canal triggers twice, and so I ended up with 2 more wood and ore, 4 more food, and because of public education, I gained 1 ideal back from the collection of an academy. For Ibo's turn in round 3, his first action is the Pirate Spawn. Pirate Spawn, if you remember, is the attack action. Right there, Pirate Spawn is attack. Now, when he goes to attack, you look at a couple things. First off, we look at warfare. However many cubes, advancements he has learned in the warfare category tells us how far he'll attack. So it's 1 plus 1 per cube. And so his range is 2. So we look up here, and here's an army, but the traveling 2 spaces does not get to any of my cities. And so he can't attack anything on the board. Now, if he had happened to have a second warfare cube, that would make his range 3. Then he could immediately jump right into that city and take it over. So you got to be careful as they get more warfare. You got to have your cities defended. So I'm going to start doing that very shortly. But since he cannot legally attack, we then move to the next one on the scale, and after attack is construct. Looking at our scale, we see it is a fortress. And the gold city does not have a fortress, so it is now built there. And the settler is moved to the smallest city, but they're all size 2. And so it goes to the first one in city track order. He returns to his capital. And the final piece moves down to 0. Taking a look at his action 2, it is Barbarian Move, which means advance. Taking the 3 dice, we're going to roll them over. Looks like he's learning from the first of the 3 categories. He's learning the third inside of that 3, so he's learning his first maritime. So we're going to put a cube into fishing. It is a mood, so he does not gain that. However, he will gain a port that he will now put on the board. That did empty out his event queue, so let's trigger one of those. And the event that he drew is, first, Barbarian Move. Now, there are no barbarians within 2 of his cities, and so you must treat this as a spawn. Now, us as the player, we get to choose where it spawns, but we have to follow the rules of it has to be 2 away from him and 2 away from me. And if it can't be 2 away from him, then it's 1. But there is a spot way over here that can actually get the barbarian that is 2 away from all his pieces and at least 2 away from mine. So that's where it spawns. Now, as we stated earlier, Ibo really doesn't get affected by any of this. And so what we assume with these great people cards is that he immediately passes it over to us. And so if he passes it over to us, we may now pay 2 culture tokens to take the card and have this action available to us. However, I don't want to spend the 2 culture tokens on this, so I'm going to pass, and it gets discarded. For the status phase of age 3, we start with complete objectives. I did complete my ideals. I do have 5 ideas, so I'm going to move it down to 3 and claim these 2 points. Ibo still has not researched irrigation, so this does not take effect. Next is to receive a free advancement, and I'm going to go ahead and take mine in astronomy. This gets me another culture token, but more importantly, I get myself the star catalogs, which now for every time I trigger an event, I get an idea or culture token. Ibo is going to roll for his advancement. So he's going to take from the 3rd category. He's going to take the first one in that category, and because there's only 2 available, this last die is read as a D2, so that's a 1. So he's going to take the first one in this category, which means he gets taxation. So he's going to put a cube into there, and that is, and that means he also gets a market to put on the scale. Now, every time Ibo gets a third advancement in any of the categories, check this sheet because they get a certain bonus. So for this, every time he gets this to the third and fourth in the economy, he's going to spend an action card to build, well, in economy's case, to construct. If it was science, he'd be recruiting. If it was spirituality, he'd be influencing culture. And if it was education, he'd be advancing. And again, we talked about earlier, agriculture and construction, he'd be revealing a wonder. So we're going to spend this action card from Ibo, and that allows him to construct. Now, looking at the board, settlement is in his first position, so he's going to try to found a city in one of those 2 remaining spaces. So rolling the die to see if it's 1 or 2. It is 1, so he's going to take the northern spot. Flipping it over and making sure water still stays connected. That would make it that orientation. Now, normal order is he has to settle in a plains first, but there's no plains. So then he goes to forest. But the problem is this forest breaks the rule of settling within 1 of me. And so he goes to the mountain. Well, there's 2 options, but that again is adjacent to me. So he's going to settle in this northern piece, northern mountain area up there. As per usual, all of these move down 1, and the settler is now going to move to the smallest city right over there. We now draw our cards for the status phase. His action cards will be put there. His objective card will be placed there to help with the timeline. Raising 1 city, he gets to increase the mood of all his cities 1 step. And so his new gold city is now happy, as is his new ideal city up north. Change of government phase. We look at traditions, and he has no cube, so he gains no culture tokens. And finally, determine first player. I've got 5 tokens. He's got 3. I'll choose to remain the first player for age 4. My round 1 of age 4 was quite eventful. We started our first action using the action card of Explorer, so I paid 1 culture token to actually reveal this last sector and gain a settler, which I put in that northern city. So that was action 1. Action 2, I used 2 food to learn tactics, which gains me a culture token. And 3, I used 2 ore, 2 food, and 1 mood and culture token to recruit from this southern city an infantry, and a leader. Once my leader occurred, I'm going to take Hammurabi here. Hammurabi allows me to increase happiness straight to happy by paying just a culture token where he's at, and fortresses don't cost food or wood in his cities, and so I'm gonna see if I can't get a couple cheap fortresses built. During the advance, by the way, I did trigger an event. It was just anarchy, and I don't have a government, so nothing occurred. For Ibo, being age 4, he's going to trigger 2 events. The first event is a Barbarian Move, which we know is an advance. We're going to take the 3 dice, and it looks like we're going to do the 3rd trio of categories. The first one in that trio, which means we're doing economics. And, well, it doesn't matter what the 3rd die is because he only has 1 choice, and that is currency. And so that does gain him a culture token, being that it is a blue technology. Because of the economy advancement, he gains another market onto the scale. And because it's the 4th in that row, we spend an action card and actually perform a construct. Now the first city piece on the scale is this port. And it just so happens the settler is actually at a city next to the water. And so the port is going to be built right there at the ideal city. Settler now has to move, and because everything's the same size, he's going to go to the capital over there. And everything shifts. With that one done, let's move on to card number 2. It is another advanced, so we're going to take the dice, flip them over, and it looks like we're the second category, sorry, that is the third category, and the third in the third category. So this will be the first science that he learns. He's going to put his cube into mathematics. That does gain him a culture token and an observatory for the scale. This also triggers an event. Get rid of this so we don't keep it. We keep them straight here. The event we're going to trigger are pirate spawn and raid. So Ibo is going to take 2 pirate ships. One has to be placed adjacent to himself. The other one can be placed next to me. And so next to himself, we're going to choose here. And next to us, we don't really have a coastal city yet, so the closest, I guess, would be here. We'll choose. All right, and then he gets raided, and every time he gets raided, he loses a culture token. Now, reading the text of Meeting of Academics. All players gain 1 idea for each of their cities that have an academy or observatory. You gain a minimum of 2. Now, you is him, so he doesn't do it. But I, since it says all players, I actually get 2 ideas because I have 2 cities with academies. I'm up to 5. All right, on my turn, I took the first action and I spent no food to learn roads. I didn't have to because I have mathematics. And so I learned roads and gained myself another culture token. I then spent action 2 collecting from my capital city an ore, a food, and a wood. And because it's an academy, I get an idea. And because of canals, I get another food. And then used an ore and a food, or I will use an ore and a food for my third action of movement. And I'm actually going to move my army from that city and use the road's ability to get straight to that barbarian camp. And I also moved my settler to here with my second move. For battling, I'm just going to roll 4 dice. One's for the barbarian. I'll just say the bottommost dice is going to be the barbarian's number. And here we have it. So the 2 has been designated as the barbarian, so he doesn't get a hit. I do have a leader in my group, so I'm allowed to re-roll this leader. Oh, not much higher, but it is irrelevant because it is still 1 hit, which is all I needed. Actually, sorry, it's 2 hits because I do have an infantry in my group, so that's a +1. So this is 10 total for 2 hits. He has 0 hits, and so he is removed, and I have taken over this barbarian camp. So the barbarian camp is now mine. It is now angry. But let's not forget that I do get 2 gold for that attack, as I did capture the city and defeat at least 1 unit. For Ibo's 2 actions of round 2, first card revealed is another Barbarian Move, which means we know he's advancing. Rolling the 3 dice here. It looks like he's advancing in the second set of 3 and the third one in that set, so he's going to learn a spirituality. 3 options means that bottom one is a D3, so it's a 2. He learns priesthood. Because he's learned a spirituality, he's going to put a temple on the scale. And he has actually now learned his very first of his own Civ advancements. He's got priesthood. He's going to learn man god. So now he gains an extra action for his first and second government advancements. So we haven't gotten to government advancements yet, but when he gets there, he's actually going to get extra actions as he gets those advancements. Action 2 is another Barbarian Move, which is another advancement. Flip these over. Looks like we're going to the second set of 3. And looks like the same one. We're going back into spirituality, the third one of the second set. And now this is a D2 since there's only 2 advancements left in the category. So that's going to be a 2. And so he's going to learn state religion. And that means another temple comes to the scale. My 3 actions of round 3 were very straightforward. The first thing I did was collect 2 ore and a food from this capital city, which gave me 2 ore, 2 food, and an idea. I then used Hammurabi's ability of Lawgiver, increased happiness. During increased happiness, I can I can improve the cities directly to happy with 1 culture token. So I spent 1 culture token and made my new conquered barbarian city happy. I then used his other ability of Guardian, which allows him to build fortresses for only 1 ore. And so I spent 1 ore and built a fortress in that city. For Ibo's final 2 actions of age 4, we're going to take a look. It is the pirate spawn and raid. So if you remember, the pirate spawn and raid is the attack action. So he's going to seek to attack. So looking at his warfare, he's got 1 token in it, so that means his attack range currently is 2. So if he had happened to have units in this city, then he would have attacked this city because it is within 2 of that army. But as it currently stands, this is the only army that he's got that's close enough to me, or that's close to me, but it's not within 2 of any of my armies or cities, and so he will not attack me. However, he will attack barbarians if able, but we have the same problem. All of his armies are not within 2 of the barbarians, which means he can't attack. So because he cannot attack, he's instead going to construct. Now because the settler is in the capital city here with a market, markets are the first 2 on the scale, so we skip to the 3rd one. We're going to build this observatory in the capital city, in the food city. The settler now moves to the wood city over here, as it's the smallest in city track order. And every time he gets builds an observatory, Ibo will gain an action card. And we will shift all pieces down. With the attack taken care of, the second action in here is, this is exhausted land. So with exhausted land, you'll notice that that is an influence culture action. This is the first time we've seen this. So with an influence culture action, we look for the cheapest, closest target. Now, cheapest target is being able to reach a city with spending the least amount of culture tokens, ideally 0. And so we have a city size 2 that can reach this city right here at no cost. So that's our closest, cheapest target, is this temple. So with that, he's going to roll the die. And that is a 6, so that's a success. Now, if he would say, just for example for a second, let's say he rolled a 3. If he rolls a 3, then he's immediately going to try to make it succeed. If he doesn't have enough tokens to make it succeed, then he just lets it fail and doesn't spend any. But in this case, a 6 is an automatic success. So he has successfully converted my temple into his. I guess I'm going to start a little bit of Egyptian religion in my Babylonian city. For the status phase of age 4, completing objectives comes first, and I have now Dominion because I have 4 cities on the board not adjacent to any other cities, and so I've earned these 2 points. Ibo has not yet learned irrigation, so this does not take effect. For my free advancement, I'm going to take State Religion and Spirituality. That allows me to gain another mood token. Ibo will roll to see which advancement he takes for his free one. First set of 3, and it's the first one in that first set of 3. And so that means it's going to be Agriculture. Because there's 3 available, it looks like we're going to look at the second one of the bunch. And that would mean he's going to learn Irrigation. Hey, he finally earns Irrigation. And so we'll put that over there. And now we'll start doing floodplains with each complete objective round. Now, having built in having advanced in agriculture means we do a wonder check. Does he have 5 culture tokens? No. Does he have 4 non-settlement on his scale? Yes. Does he at least have 3 in agriculture or construction? The answer is no. And can he build the pyramids? The answer would be yes, because he's got spirituality unlocked. But again, answering no to any of those questions means he cannot build a wonder. I give Ibo his action card, and I put the objective card on top of the timeline deck. Looking at Ray's city size 1, all of his cities are happy, so there's nothing that's happening there. Change government means we look at traditions. There are no cubes, so he doesn't gain any culture tokens from that. And finally, determine first player. I've got 4 tokens. He also has 4 tokens, so it is up to me to decide, and I'm going to just remain the first player for age 5. For my 3 actions of age 5, round 1, I took my first action and recruited 3 infantry units for my northern city up here. So that was action 1. Action 2, I advanced into Dogma, getting my first government advancement. That also triggered ziggurats, which doesn't limit my ideas, and I can now construct temples using ideas as a resource. I then that also triggered an event, which was severe famine, but I have irrigation, so it was ignored. But what it did do is spawn a barbarian right there, 2 within my cities. Last but not least, in the 3rd action, I used my new ability of ziggurats, and I used an idea in wood and built a temple in this southern city. For Ibo's first round of age 5, in age 5 and 6, he now does 3 cards per age or per turn. And so let's see what his first of 3 action is. It is Barbarian Spawn, which is to recruit. So if you remember, we recruit in reverse city track order, which means we start with ideas up there. No unit is in there, so it's an automatic infantryman. When we move then to gold, there is again no units in that city, and so we take another infantryman and put it in there. We then go to ore. Now there is an infantryman in the ore city, so we now roll the dice to see what his second unit will be. His second unit will be an infantryman. It's whatever symbol, whatever clash symbol shows up. And so another infantry goes into there. We then go up there to wood. He's only got an infantry, so let's roll the die for wood. And it is an elephant. Now, because any one of his cities, he technically has 2 cities with markets, but he only needed 1. If any of his city has a market, then he now matches whatever the die is rolled. Now, if he didn't have a market in play, he would instead do an infantry. But he now has an elephant in his wood city. And finally, the food city, there is a unit, so we're going to roll the dice, and he gets another elephant. So he's now got an elephant in his capital city. With that recruit done, let's take a look at action number 2. Oh, he recruits again. Oh, this is going to be bad for me. All right, going up to the ideas. Now, he can have up to 3 units in that city because it's size 2 and happy. So he can still fit another person. We roll the dice and we get an infantry. So an infantry is added to the ideas city. We then go over here to gold. Again, it's size 2 with happiness, so it can hold up to 3, so it can hold more. We roll the dice and get another infantryman. So now it has 2. We go to the ore city. Now the ore is size 2 but happy, so it can hold 3 people. So let us go ahead and take the die and see what they get. They get a cavalry unit. So we'll put a horsey horse right in there. It is now full, by the way. It will not recruit if we happen to get another recruit card. It won't do it because it's now at full city size plus the mood bonus. We go over here to the wood city, and that's a settler. And that is not an army unit. So this can still hold another unit, and it is the leader. So this leader is now going to spawn in here, and we'll show you what happens with that in a second. And finally, in the capital here, in the first city, this is size 3 and happy, so it can go up to 4. So it's not full. Let's roll it up. It gets a cavalry unit. Now, because his leader is now in play, we have 3 options for leader, so we're simply going to roll the dice. As a die 3, that is 3, so he is now going to recruit Ramses II. And if you can see now, he gets +2 attack against coastal cities, any cities next to water. He's going to get a +2 attack. Now, that doesn't matter if he's part of the army attacking. It's just a passive ability. As long as his leader is in play, he's going to get that bonus with any of his army. Super glad I got at least some defense up before all that happened. Let's see what's happening here. He's going to construct because, again, no icon means construct. We go to the board and know that our settler is up here in the wood city, and there is no market there, and that is the next spot on the scale. And so a market is now built up here in the wood city. Now the settler is going to move to the smallest city, and that's these 3 are all size 2, but Ore is the lowest in, or the first in city track order, and so Ore will be the next to build. Let's shift all these down. For my 3 actions of round 2, age 5, I began by actually spending 4 ideas, advancing twice into science, and so I got medicine and metallurgy to get me 2 more culture tokens. By doing that, I also triggered an event. Now the event, before the event, I gained another culture token from Star Catalogs, but the event was to spawn barbarians. Pirates. Pirates spawn and raid. When I did so, I realized I did something wrong last round. When Ibo recruits, see, this is what I did, is I had to put one here because it's a coastal city and I didn't have a pirate there yet. The second one I went to put next to his dock, and then I realized he's recruited last round twice. And so every time Ibo recruits, he puts a ship in the spot with the dock there. And so he right now should have 2 ships in that area, which means I can't put the pirate there. I'd have to put the pirate here instead. So I reminded myself to do that. So anytime he recruits, he's going to spawn 1 ship at one of his ports. And he favors the port that doesn't already have a ship in the sea area. So if he had a port over here, for example, he would probably put the first one there and then the second one here because it doesn't yet have a ship. Nonetheless, the Prosperous Year, I did gain 1 food from this card because I have 1 less city than he does. My 3rd action was then to collect 2 ore and 2 food and an idea out of this city here, mostly because I think I am going to go for building this Great Pyramids. Ibo's 3 actions are ready to go for round 2. Let's take a look. We have a blank. We all know that that is construct. And so his settler is currently in the ore city. It already has a market, so he's not going to build a market. He instead is going to build this temple right here in the ore city. Anytime he builds a temple, he gets himself a culture token, so he's going to gain that. The settler will now move to the gold city. It is the smallest in city track order, so the settler is now over here. And we move everything down on the track. Going on to card number 2, it is another blank card. So he constructs again. Now there is no market in the gold city. There will be now. And so let's put a market into that city, and that means now he moves over to the idea city over there. It's now the smallest city at size 2. 3rd and final action is, wow, major round of building. Well, I forgot to shift that down, but it is no matter. It's going to get built. So he builds a temple in the idea city way back here. The settler moves to the capital. It is the smallest city now, with the in order, in city track order. So that's going to go over there. And he does gain a culture token for building the temple. Round 3 of age 5 was solely to collect. I collected from this north city ore, and wood. And from my capital city, I collected ore, food, another food from Canal, and an idea from the academy. With that, that leaves me with 7 food, 6 ore, 3 wood, a gold, and those 2 ideas were, I had 2 ideas, but I spent them for my 3rd action to learn rituals, which now allows me to build the Great Pyramids next round. The final round of age 5, we're going to take a look at these 3 actions, starting first with, oh, another plank. Wow, lots of construction in this game. Now, there is nothing on his scale, which means he cannot construct any longer. So we go to the flowchart and we realize after construct, he's going to try to influence culture. Now we know how this already works. We're going to find the cheapest, closest target on the map. Now all his cities are size 3 and thus have 3 range. And so this fortress is actually the closest target from this city. 1, 2, 3. And so that's our target. No culture token is needed to influence that fortress. Rolling the die is a 6. Darn it. That means he has to spend nothing to influence his military. I don't know. He's influencing military tactics with my Babylonian people as an Egyptian. Okay. Second action is recruit. So he's going to go city by city again, starting first with the idea city. He can hold up to 4 people. It only has 2. Let's roll the die. It is a cavalry. Now again, he only needs to mark it in at least 1 city. He's got him in 4. So a cavalry is going to end up in the ideal city. Going to the gold city. It's got 2 units. It can hold 4 units. Let's roll it up. It gets an infantryman. So infantryman now enters that gold city. Going to the ore city. It has 3 units. It can hold 4 units. So let's roll it up. That is another infantry. It is now at max size there. Wood City has 3 units, but can hold 4. Let's roll that up and it gets an elephant. Now I got all elephants, I believe, on the board. No, I got 1 more elephant not on the board, but let's pretend if I didn't have a 4th element, like the 4th element was there, I would have to then spawn an infantryman. And finally the capital, that's a settler, so it's got 3 units only. It is an infantry he's going to add, and so now the capital is full. And let's not forget this time, let's not forget we then look at any port and it gets another ship. Last but not least, we have, wow, another blank. All right, so we gotta talk about some things here. First off, it can't construct. We already know that because there's nothing on his scale. Now, it goes to influence culture, but he's only, as the rules state, you can only have 1 successful influence culture around, which means he can't do that. So we go back up the list, and he's going to instead advance. Rolling the 3 dice. Oh, let's get them in an order that I can actually tell. There we go. Looks like he's 2nd category, 2nd. Oh, that's not good for me. 2nd category, 2nd 1. That means it's a warfare advancement. 2 means the top one, so he's going to get siegecraft. That's irrelevant. What's really bad here is the fact that he's now going to have a range of 3 to attack me. And so any army within 3 of my cities can now attack me, and you can see that's basically all of them. So this whole army can now go 1, 2, 3 and attack that city, that city. This city was already in range. That is bad news for me. Okay, status round of age 5, our last status phase here. Starting first with complete objectives. I didn't complete any new objectives. However, Ibo does now have irrigation and thus can actually do this. During complete objectives, gain a Moo token for each adjacent, that's barren space adjacent to his cities. And so we look at his cities, he's got 1, 2, 3 barren spaces. So he's going to get 3 Moo tokens. And he's going to be, and he just puts them on this card. Now these Moo tokens, they don't count for his total here for being the first player. They're just counters, because if he had 6 or more, he would now spend those to construct. So it's sort of just a way to count those barren spaces in that floodplains to work out a little more. For my free advancement, I'm going to be taking conversion because I want to get my cities back, and that's going to help me do that. That does trigger an event for me. It is going to be a gold mine. I'm going to gain 2 gold first off, And then in migration, select another player who gets a free settler. Well, the other player is Ibo, and he doesn't get any effects. So the other one that affects me is reduce the move one step of one of my cities. I'm simply going to use a move token and ignore that with myths. Ibo's free advancement is going to be the second or the third set, the third one in the set. So he's going to learn a science technology, and it's going to be the third one. And so he's going to learn metallurgy, which does earn him a culture token and an observatory on the scale. Here is his action card for his deck, and here's the objective card just to mark the next in the timeline. Raise a city. All his cities are happy, so we don't need to do that, and I have no size 1 city. Change of government. I don't want to change government. He has nothing in traditions for more culture tokens, so that's done. Determine first player. I have a total of 8 tokens, and he has a total of 6. So I do get to choose, and I think I do want to go ahead and keep it the way it's been, and I'm going to take the first play in age 6. For round 1 of age 6, my first action was to get that pyramids in the game. It's the only wonder that has been revealed, and so I want to get into the game. I had all the resources I need for it, and so I did so. So the pyramids are now built. Action 2 was to convert my fortress back to my own possession, and I successfully done that. I did have to spend a single token as I rolled a 3 and had to get an additional 1 because I do have conversion for +1, and thus I gained my token back. I then used my last action to now put a temple in that city, so now it is protected by devotion, and so he can't use his tokens to boost it anymore, which also gave me this last one here, which then allows me to defend the city a little bit better. Let's take a look at Ibo's first action of age 6. Age 6, he starts with Exhausted Lands, which we know is influence of culture. Well, we know the cheapest target is this fortress or the temple, I guess, but this is the city that is the cheapest. He doesn't have to spend any tokens. Actually, he's not allowed to spend tokens because I do have temple and devotion, but he doesn't have to get there. So he reaches that city. He will not be able to add any tokens to the roll, though, but let's see if he rolls well. He does not, and so he would normally need 4 tokens to beat that, but with a 1, he does not succeed. Action 2 is gold, so that again we go to his advancement board, and we know that gold is to construct. His settler right now is in his capital city, which has a market and an observatory. It does not have a fortress, but it will now. And so the capital city is going to gain itself a fortress right in there. The settler now moves to the wood city, as it is the smallest. They're all size 3, but it is first in city track order. This moves down. Third event here is, he's going to attempt again. So he's got another cultural influence. So the same target as this city here. This time he does not succeed again. He would have needed a 5 or a 6. He got a 3, and he's not allowed to add tokens because of my temple and my devotion. Age 6 round 2 summary is going to be pretty straightforward. First step is I converted that temple back to my own control. I want to devote my time to the Babylonian gods and not the Egyptian gods. Number 2 was to collect from that city. I collected ore, and wood from that city. I then used a lot of that material to then build the observatory in the capital. With Ibo's 3 actions of age 6 round 2, we have first an advancement with Barbarian Moves. Let's take our 3 dice. Looks like, oh no, he did it again. Second set of categories, second one in the second set, and the top one of the warfare. So he just learned that. So now his range is 4, and of course he has another fortress on his scale. He also does trigger an event. The event is a pirate spawn. Now all 4 are on the board, and so they really can't change much. Actually, he will move this one to here. But either way, the other 2 are good spots. So with that, that is the pirate raid is done. Oh, no, he loses a culture token, and I will lose a food. Solar Eclipse, put this on the table. The next player versus player battle can go 1 round. All right, so that's out on the board, and will take effect if we ever have a PvP. Second action is, yeah, we're ready to go. Second action for Ibo is that pirate, it means it's an attack. Alright, this is a long time coming. Let's figure out our attack. So when there's an attack, you look for the biggest army discrepancy, what they call unit advantage, within range. And so his biggest armies are 4s. This is his biggest army that's closest to me. And so the range to me is 1, 2, 3. So he is within range, because let's not forget, with warfare, with 3 advancements in warfare, he can go up to 4 spaces away. So that, thank goodness his settler is here. If that settler wasn't there, 1, 2, 3, 4, he'd go right into my capital unopposed. Actually, he's going to do that anyway. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was stupid of me not to protect that. So anyway, looking at advantages, so this is 3 to nothing, so that's +3 to him. This is 4 to 3, that's +1 to him. This is 4 into 3. However, I got a fortress there, and fortresses act as another unit, so that's 4 to 4. However, I also have a leader there. Now, the game encourages him to attack your leader, because your leader, to him, doesn't count as a unit. So to him, this is 3. This would be a +1 going to the spot. However, it is blocked. He doesn't have a straight shot to it. You can also look over here. This would be 3 to 1 to the Barbarian, so that would be a +2 to him. But that's how you calculate unit advantage. You look at the army size, you compare within range, and he's going to attack the one with the best advantage. And so this was my very bad mistake, that once he got that last warfare, I should have put units in that capital, or maybe even moved this unit out to block the path, but I didn't. And so this is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 is within range of 0. That is the biggest advantage. And so that's exactly what occurs. He jumps his units into here, and I've lost my capital. That's a very bad move I made. I should have had that protected, or moved my units out, a unit out at least, to protect. So as you can see, I've gone ahead and converted all his my city pieces to his. He's taken that over. All 3 pieces do move in. Now that does leave his city vulnerable, so I might be able to go ahead and just turn around and take that one over by myself. However, this city with my wonder in it is now vulnerable and in range of an attack, so I might need to defend that instead, or maybe attack him. I got some options for the last round. Now, after all land battles are done, we then go to the sea. Now, sea battles are quite easy. You look at the maritime, how many cubes are in maritime, and again, just like warfare, it's cubes +1. And so his range of attack is 2. And so you think about it per sea area, like in navigation. So he could, technically, Ibo could go around the city for 1 and come around here for 2 and actually attack this pirate right here because it's within range of 2. 1, 2. But closest target is here, and so he is going to move into here with all 3 ships and attack. Now, just for the sake of teaching this, let's pretend he had a ship over there. Let's say his ships looked more like that and they were spread out. All his ships sort of calculate, you can say individually, but they all merge to attack. So in this case, this is still the most viable target. And so all of these would merge into that space and attack. So they all merge into the one spot when he does a naval attack. So I'm going to go and roll 4 dice. The bottom one is going to be considered the pirates. The pirates got a 1. They definitely got 11. So that is definitely a hit. So that is going to get rid of the pirate. And that means Ibo is going to gain a culture token for that kill. Alright, that's done with that attack. Last but not least, he has a... Oh, he's going to recruit more. Oh, well, that city's no longer empty. So starting in order... Oh, actually, we forgot to give this a label of culture. So this is the culture city, and we add a culture token to the end of the track. So now he's got 6 cities on the board. So the 6th city, we start here, but it is full, first of all, because its size is 1. Because it's an angry city, it's considered size 1. It's already got its max of units, having 3 in it, so it can't recruit. We then go to the idea city, and it is empty, and all empty cities receive an infantry. We then go to gold. Now gold is size 3 plus happiness, so it can have 4 units. It only has 3 in it. So let's go ahead and roll it up. It gets an elephant. Now the 4th elephant is on the board. We go to the ore city. It already has 4 units. That's done. Wood city, 4 units, done. And the food city, 4 units, done. And then, of course, the port spawns in another ship. All right, we got a lot happening on my turn, so I'm just going to go ahead and record this one. The first action was quite simple. From this large city here of size 4 with a happy, I collected wood, wood, ore, food, food. That brought me to 2 wood, 2 ore, 5 food, and an idea also came from it because it does have an academy. This now leads me to action 2 is going to be to move. And I'm going to use the roads ability, spend a wood and a ore, and I'm going to have these guys travel 2 spaces, and we're going to try to take this back from them. Now if that's not successful, I have 3 more people here, but what I don't want to do is leave this vulnerable, because if he gets an attack next round, I'm definitely done for as well. But I want to use these guys instead because the city's smaller, and so we're going to give it a shot here. Alright, so this is our first real PvP battle here. So first off, I do want to use an advanced or an action card for sure, because I really need to win this battle. So I'm going to use archers. So I get to roll, and if I roll a 5 or 6, I get to remove an army unit right away. It is a 4, so I don't get to do that. That kind of stinks. Now, he gets to play this also. He gets to play... he gets the top one from his deck and reveal it. I have to play mine first, or reveal mine, pick mine before I reveal his. Oh, he also did archer. And so we would resolve this. Now, he only resolves it if it actually works. So let's say this was something different, maybe defend, I said if attacking or something like that. Then it wouldn't work. And so this would just go to the bottom of the deck, and he would be saying not playing a card. But it does work, and his doesn't work either, so that's good. Neither archer takes effect. So now we just simply fight. Now solar eclipse is in the game, and so this round, this battle is only going to last 1 round regardless. I'm hoping to win in this 1 round. That's why I wanted to play that card, but we'll see what happens here. I'm going to say that the top 3 are mine, the bottom 3 are his, since that's the way they're oriented on the board. Let's get a little space here. All right. So top 3 mine, bottom 3 his. So I've rolled 12, and I only have infantry, so that makes it a 13. So I've got 2 hits. He's also rolled, no, he's rolled 14, and he's got both an infantry and a cavalry unit, which means that's plus 3 more. So that is a 3. So I've lost all 3 of my men, and he's lost 2 of his. Now, when there's when he decides what to lose, you roll the dice and you remove the figure scene. There is no elephant in there, no leader. There is an infantry, and it is a horse. So we're going to remove those 2, and that's the end. Now, because of solar eclipse, the battle has to end. Well, I don't have any people left anyway, but because of that, it has to end, and he's going to end up at this point. Alright, so that was only move 1 of my movement, so I'm going to take a second movement. I will spend my ore and a wood over here to activate roads again, and I will now move these 3 into this zone. Now, you know what? I'm going to move 2. I'm going to keep one guy back. I'm going to move that guy into here. So now it's 2v1 and my leader is involved. Now, anytime the leader is involved, I plays an action card. Because he always wants to attempt to kill your leader if he can. So he always plays an action card regardless. If his leader was involved, he'd also play an action card regardless, trying to protect his leader. But in this case, it is 2 versus 1. His action card that he's playing is the reveal. Roll the number of dice equal to the number of army units you have. He's got 1. On a 5 or a 6, you may cancel 1 hit. Oh, so he's going to cancel 1 hit. Alright, so he's got 1 block going into this. So I need a good roll from my leader and my infantrymen. So mine will be on top, red will be on the bottom. So I rolled 8 with an infantryman to make it 9. He rolled a 1 with no leader to re-roll. So I got 1 hit, and he blocked it with the action card. That's fine. That just means we go into another round of battle. So he's going to obviously play an action card. And I think we need to as well. Alright, I actually don't have an action card to play against him. So we're going to see what this is. It cannot be used when you attack cities. So he is not attacking the city. He's defending. And so he can use this just fine. I do not get my clash abilities. So this is going to be a 2v1. Again, red is on the bottom. And we're seeing that I had 9 with the 1 plus. Oh, I don't get my clash abilities. So that stays a 9 as 1 hit. He also gets 1 hit. And so I'm going to lose my infantryman, but he loses his. And I do win the city back. I'm actually going to take a free action here. I'm going to pay a culture token to play Assassination. And that's going to go on him. So he's actually only going to get 2 action next rounds instead of 3. So hopefully that protects me from getting my vulnerable city taken over. My action 3 is going to be a cultural influence. And I'm going to do a cultural awe. And I'm going to see if I can't get that barbarian settlement to convert my direction instead. Actually, no. Let's hit him. We don't need cultural awe. We don't need that. Let's cultural influence him. And so we're going to go ahead and try to get one of his cities up there. So one of the docks or the temple. That is a 3. We only need 1 to make it a 4, which is successful since we have devotion, which means I get that culture token back. And we're going to say we convert their dock into one of ours. Alright, going into the last round of the game, he has been assassination has been played on him, so he is only going to get 2 actions this round. I am hoping to not have to lose that size 2 city up there. His first one is recruit. So as long as he can recruit, he will, and he definitely needs to up in the idea city. So the ideal city gets a cavalry unit up here. He then goes to gold, which is full. Ore is full, wood is full, and food is full. So that's the only thing he spawns, and all his ships are also on the board as well. So that is all that he spawns. Action 2, please don't be attacked. It is... Oh, it's another spawn. And because he could spawn up in ideals, he gets an infantry unit up there. That is his complete recruit because these are all full. So if that was full, or for whatever reason he couldn't recruit there, or anywhere, that would have been bad because then after recruit, if he can't recruit, he would have attacked. And that would have been the end of me right there. But with that, that finishes his round, and that finishes the game because his third action was assassination. Now, during my complete objective phase, I did get scientist. I do have more observatories out than he does, so I did do that. And because we still do complete objectives in the last round, he does actually have 3 barren spaces adjacent to his cities, so he's going to get 3 more tokens, which does equal 6, so he pays them off and does a construct for the last round of the game. So he's going to take this observatory and he's going to put it right here in the wood city. because that's where his settler is. The settler would then move to the ore city, but it is the end of the game anyway. Final score is calculated exactly like the normal game, and so each city piece is 1 point. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 for the converted port. So 13 for me. As for his city pieces, he's got 4, 8, 11, that's 14, 15, 16 city pieces on his board. For advancements with a half point each, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 for me, bringing me up to 26. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and a half. So that brings up him to 25 and a half. So I'm ahead by 1/2 point. Objectives. I've got 3 objectives for 2 points apiece. So that is 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for 32. In a normal game, Ibo is considered to always win 4 objectives. That's 8 points. And so he is pulled ahead 33 and a half to 32. Following that is 4 points per wonder. However, the pyramids are actually a 5-point wonder. And so I'm going to gain 5 points for building the pyramids. And that takes me to 37. Event cards. Early on in the game, I lost the city to an earthquake for 2 points. And he earned 1 from the solar eclipse battle. And so he goes to 34 and a half, and I'm now at 38. And lastly, enemies killed. That never happened. Now, just to show you, and if I ever did kill his leader, what would have happened is I would have actually taken this and put that inside there. And then this would have gone to no leader. And then those 2 are the only other leaders he can gain. But that's 2 points to me by marking the fact that I just defeated Ramsey II. But with all the scores finally calculated, it turns out I did pull out the win at 38 for me and 34 and 1/2 for Ibo.